Up in the valley of the jolly green giant.
Sun's so bright. Where's the best corn? Oh, here.
You don't get green giant corn without the best sunshine, Sprout.
Don't get overheated. You're bringing home the finest corn under the sun.
There's no corn like green giant niblets corn, picked at the peak of ripeness, the finest corn under the sun.
You need giant ones.
Ho, ho, ho. Green giant.
There you are, boy.
When your dog shows his devotion for you, then shouldn't you show how much you care for him? Choose something you know he loves. Pal with marrowbone. After all, your dog loves the taste of marrowbone. The same marrowbone he gets in Pal. And there's all the firm, meaty nourishment he needs. Pal with marrowbone. Doesn't your dog deserve Pal every day?
Today, at Warrington in Cheshire, the people have their say in a political event with wide implications for party politics in Britain. A new national party at a by-election fights its first contest for a seat at Westminster. The politicians have made their promises and spoken of their hopes. Now only the votes count. So what will the electors of Warrington tell our leaders and us about the national mood? The Warrington result and what it means tonight at 11:30 on ITV.
At 2:25, David Jansen stars in our bestsellers presentation, The Word. That's a bit later. Right now on Thames, though, it's time for Here Today.
Hello, nice to welcome you here today to meet Henry Cooper as we ask, will the jobs crisis tempt a few more into the boxing ring? And from boxing to something less painful, that's working in the home. We've got a few tips on becoming your own boss.
But first, it's tracksuit time. Have you ever fancied yourself as a budding Fred Astaire or Ginger Rogers, tap dancing the night away? It's the latest way to keep fit. Even Lady Diana is reported to be limbering up for the big day with regular tap dancing sessions. Dancing schools all over Britain are being asked to put on classes. So we've invited along dance teacher Bernard Hall from London and two of his star pupils, a housewife and a student, to demonstrate just what it's all about. Take it away, Bernard. And Charles, that's smashing. Great fun too.
Thank
I mean,
you.
that is the whole point of tap dancing, isn't
Fun,
it? It
yeah.
always looks as if it's good fun.
Oh, yes, it is.
What sort of people come to your classes? I mean, you do classes in London, don't you?
Every day.
Yeah. What sort of people
Well,
come?
air hostesses, bank clerks, housewives,
Yeah.
dear Audrey,
Yeah.
students,
Yeah.
Charles, and nurses.
And why do they come? Is it because they want to learn to dance, or is it a keep fit thing?
I think it's, they want to get away from the dreary world.
Dreary world of what? Of jogging and gyms.
That's right.
And it is a kind of an escape, isn't it? Because you
Of
always
course.
imagine you're going to be
And the
Fred
music's
Astaire.
very gay, you know,
Yes, it is.
instead of the...
And do you think it's harking back to the old days?
Oh, definitely.
It's
The
the Busby
circle is
Berkeley
nearly
routines.
finished, you know.
Yeah.
All that's going right back. In 42nd Street, they do a clog dance, even, in the musical. Yes.
Now, you've been teaching dancing for a few years, quite a few years, I would say, would you? Yeah.
Yes,
What
quite
sort
a
of
few.
people have you taught in your time?
Well, when I was in France, I had Juliette Prowse as a partner, but I taught Mireille Mathieu, the French singer.
Yeah.
And, well, let's think. I was the first half of Dietrich's show,
Yes.
and I even taught Juliet Greco to dance.
My goodness me, that's an achievement too.
Yes, it was.
Now look, the thing about tap is that it's not just the feet, is it? I mean, I love all this kind of,
it's
the arms
everything.
bit.
You see, the feet go with the hands.
Yes.
It all talks.
Yes. And so it really does just tone you up, the whole bit.
It is a toner.
Yeah.
It's much better than that awful jogging.
Yes, it is. I'm going to give up jogging immediately.
Good.
And I borrowed some tap shoes from a friend of mine, which
Uh-huh.
are fairly well worn. I have never tapped in my life before. And I'm going to bring along a friend who is a keep fit lady herself.
Aha.
So here we are, Diana.
Hello.
And I've never tapped in my life before either, but I'm very willing to learn.
Well,
So
let's-
can you teach us a very simple
One
step,
step?
Bernard?
Okay.
Yeah.
Give me a hand for confidence.
Oh,
huh?
how nice.
We
Now,
need that.
the right foot,
Yes.
put the heel down.
Yeah.
Cross it over, put the heel down, put the right foot there, bring the left foot in.
Right.
Now you take it over, heel, over and heel, out and heel, and you've baked the cake already. You see?
That's all right when it's slow, but I mean, if you quicken it up, I'm going to go to pieces.
Well,
I know.
let's try it on a quicker tempo. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 1, 2,
I lost
1,
you straight away.
2, 1. That's right. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. 1, 2.
Are we going to have some music, do you think?
Why not? Let's count it in.
Oh,
1,
here we go.
2,
From the top.
go. 1, 2,
Oh, it's
1,
good.
2.
Use the arms, Di.
Swing.
I've got to
Oh, yes. Oh, no, you haven't. Come on, Ann Miller. 1, 2.
I've always wanted to be Ginger Rogers.
Well, you're more Debbie Reynolds.
Really?
Much younger.
Thank you. Oh, this is great. I'm going to try this at home.
Now, let's... Continue winning the derby.
I tell you, I'd look a heel doing that, but they're putting plenty of soul in. Anyway, feet back on the ground and on to working in the home. Do you know there's a great deal of it being done these days as both men and women take the plunge and take their jobs into their own living room. If you don't believe me, then believe Christine Brady. Christine is editor of Family Circle and the author of several books on the subject of running your own business from your own home. Christine, what do we mean by working from home?
Well, there are two facets generally. Either you actually do the work yourself, or you use the home as a base to organise other people. I mean, the two people we have today have both done both things. In fact, they've organised themselves and then they've gone on to organise other people. But
What sort of businesses are we talking about?
Well, the two obvious ones, of course, are sewing and knitting, but there are other things you can do, from teaching to organising part-timers into some kind of, perhaps office cleaning or something like that. Gardening. I know a lady who's become a gardener and done very well. There are all sorts of things you can do. First of all, you've got to find your own talent and then work out how to exploit it.
Does it cost a lot of money to set yourself up in business?
It needn't cost anything at all, really. You can start in a very, very modest way. You don't have to sort of go on to be big business tycoon when you start. Try modestly, make your mistakes early on if you're going to make any, and then hopefully by the time you get a bit further on, you'll have learnt so much.
How difficult is it to prove to the people you're selling your idea, your business, your product to that you are being professional about it, that it's not just an amateur setup? Because it sounds a bit amateur, doesn't it, with respect, working from home?
It does sound very difficult. I mean, one of the sort of things that happens is somebody rings you up and a little girl answers the phone and says, "Mummy's on the loo, she won't be a minute." I mean, that will kill anything stone dead. If you've got any literature, make sure it's properly printed. Try and get an answering service if you can. Always go well dressed if you go to see someone. For example, I know someone, in fact, who started an office cleaning business from home, and she turns up looking so glamorous that nobody believes that she can actually get on her hands and knees and hoover the carpet. She has to prove it.
Christine, thank you. Be back to you in a mo, but there's the idea in principle. Let's have a look at it in practice now and meet our first home worker, Tessa Corr. Tessa, you decided to go in for catering. Why?
Catering was something I enjoyed. It was something I seemed to be particularly good at. And there seemed to be a need for somebody who was offering a decent catering service, something that wasn't the normal sort of cold sausage roll and limp sandwich. I wanted to offer food that was fun, colourful and tasty.
Did it cost you a lot of money to set yourself up in business?
No, in fact, as Christine said, it needn't cost anything at all. the more money you have, the more equipment you can buy. It's useful to have your own mixer, to have your own crockery and cutlery. But really, you are working from home and you're cooking, most of the things you'll probably have anyway, sharp knives, sieves, that sort of thing.
Now, I know, as Christine was talking about impressing people and being professional, you're very keen on this too, aren't you? Because I've picked up this, which is the little booklet that you're pushing out to people to show that you are a professional. You think this is important?
Absolutely, yes. I think the image is the most important thing. If you send somebody your price list, which is a badly typed, photocopied, dog-eared piece of literature, no one's going to take much notice of it. If it looks nice, then they're going to have confidence in your product and your service.
Well, let's have a look at the range of things we've got here. I mean, how daunting was it for you to prepare this? And in fact, what is this for?
Well, this is just a very brief selection of food that one could prepare for a buffet, a cold buffet. What you've got to remember is that the food has got to be exciting to the eye, it's got to be colourful, and as well to the palate. So keep it interesting, a variety of foods, a variety of textures. That's the most important thing.
It looks delicious. Now, you're going to be a mum before the end of the year. I mean, how is a baby going to affect business at home?
Well, working from home is the ideal way to work. If you're going to have a baby, you can incorporate babies and working from home if you're well organised.
You gave up a job as a teacher to try this. Has it proved successful? Are you glad you did it?
Oh, absolutely, yes. I love it. I enjoy it, and it's something I think I do very well.
Tessa, thank you very much. Well, let's meet our second home worker now. She's suffering for us because she's wearing one of her products. Now, this is Linda Parkhouse. Linda, we're talking about knitting, but you don't knit, do you? You design the patterns.
That's right. Yes, I don't actually knit any of the garments that I work out the pattern for. I have a team of outworkers who do all my knitting for me, and I just do a little tiny bit of knitting at home to keep my hand in.
She's running a factory already.
It's not quite as automated as that, you know. My outworkers are all sitting by their fireside and knitting away for me.
So they're home workers too?
Indeed, we're all working from home.
I'll let you take that off because I don't want you to suffer in the heat of the studio. But that is an example of something that you designed a pattern for.
It is.
Now, I take it that you have to be a knitter first before you can think about designing patterns.
Oh yes, you have to know your craft or your trade extremely well before you can start to do anything like this. And I've always been able to knit since I was very young. And then my experience as knitting editor on a ladies' magazine helped to further me along the path, really. And when I left to have my first baby, it was very natural, really, that I should continue to work at home, but
Linda,
this time on the other side.
Yes, now, when it goes to selling products, I mean, what sort of things go down well with the buyers? What have we got here?
Well, here we've got a range of garments that I have designed for ladies' magazines specifically, who are on the lookout for something more unusual than the spinners who publish their own leaflets. They tend to like the rather classic stuff, but this is fairly representative of the sort of stuff that you might see in a ladies' magazine at any one time.
Now, do you find it difficult having children as well? Does that make it difficult to run a business as well as looking after them?
You do have to be very organised, of course. It's an advantage in that I can be at home, so that if little Johnny gets sick, I can be there to mop the fevered brow. But at the same time, it's relatively easy to have them looked after for a while so that I can have the peace and quiet that I need to concentrate and do some work.
And Linda, we're not talking about pin money, are we? We're talking about quite a bit of money.
Oh yes, indeed it is now, and I need to keep very careful accounts, of course, and make proper representation to the tax office at the end of the year.
You're doing very well. You've been doing this for about 7 years, haven't you?
I have, yes.
Gosh, she's a clever lady. Christine, the thing that worries me with both these examples and thinking about the idea in general is that we're in a recession when industry outside, the professional industry, is having enough problems. How much more difficult is it going to be trying to sell a product from home?
I think it will be more difficult, undoubtedly. I think you need to be more inventive now. You don't have to go on the ordinary things, with respect. You can think of perhaps more unusual things, like the office cleaning girl, or there are a young couple, Heather and Fiona, from a village in Devon, who are window cleaning. And you can go on to gardening, teaching from home if you've got any skill to sell.
The other thing, I suppose, is that if your other half has a full-time job outside, how that affects tax.
Well, it does affect it, obviously. The thing to do is keep an exact note of everything you spend for the business and everything you receive. Just keep it, if necessary, just throw it in a box for 12 months and then go along to the tax office. You will have to pay national insurance, probably. But the thing is, get it sorted out. Don't just go along and hope you won't be found out, because you invariably will sooner or later, and that's when the trouble starts.
And Christine, the other thing is taking that first step, deciding maybe to throw up a job, as Tessa did, teaching, to do this. How much of a gamble is it?
It is a gamble. It's very much a gamble, but you don't have to start at the top. I mean, you're looking at two people who have made a tremendous success of it, and they have every right to be proud. But, for example, if you were one of Linda's art workers who perhaps left to have your first baby, or you were retired and needed to supplement your income, I mean, that's a different level. You're not earning the same sort of money, but it's still a great help, and it's still starting off a business from home.
Christine, Linda, Tessa, thank you all very much.
Our guest here today is a man who is still remembered as the most popular of post-war British boxers, Henry Cooper, for 11 years a British heavyweight champion. Since retiring, he's become, among other things, a member of a Lloyd's underwriting syndicate. Well, Henry, we won't ask you what that involves, but can I just say that as somebody I've always respected both in and out of the ring, and somebody I've always imagined as being very mild-mannered, what on earth made you take up a profession which involved punching people?
Well, it's quite easy when you know the people in front of you are going to come back slinging punches at you. So you think, let's get ours in first before they land theirs. But no, it's a job of work, basically. If we're talking about professional boxing, that is, it's a job of work, and you psych yourself up. That's why I used to leave home for about a month before a big fight, just to psych yourself up to get mean, to get fit, to get mentally right for the fight, yeah.
Well, did you start boxing, I mean, in the post-war years when things were very hard, did you start boxing to make money, to get yourself a job, as it were?
Well, no, I mean, originally we started, because I started boxing when I was, between 9 and 10 years old. So you start as an amateur club. You do it because in them days, I suppose, when I was around as a kid, you could only do two things. That was kick a tin can or play football or box. And boxing being in the family, Dad being a boxer, my grandfather was a fighter, we just took to boxing. And that's how it stemmed. But then when you got older, when I went into the army in 52, and then I came out in 54, then I thought, well, I won all the silver pots and the canteens of cutlery and the coffee percolators I could have indoors. I thought, let's see if we can, make it pay and fight for money.
What did your mum say when you came home from school one day and said, Mum, I'm going to be a boxer?
Well, she didn't mind. While we was little, it was funny, she didn't mind. She loved it, and she only ever came and watched us box once as a senior boxer, but she'd watched us once or twice perhaps as a junior, and she thought that was lovely because, basically wasn't hurting each other. But then when she see the men getting, and we were a bit bigger, and when the punches were a little bit harder, she didn't want to know. No, she said, well, she never came out. She never ever watched me box professionally.
Yeah. There's a phrase which cropped up in boxing many years ago, perhaps in the 30s and 40s, and that was a hungry fighter. When men went into boxing, what did that phrase actually mean?
Well, in them days, it meant what it said exactly, a hungry fighter. See, in them days, you didn't have a welfare state. I'll get it right in a minute. Use me proper teeth, don't I? No, in them days, as I say, we didn't have a welfare state. You had to, if you didn't work, you starved. So the only way they could earn a few bob was fighting. And most boroughs, where the part of London I come from, which was the Elephant, the Walworth, and the Old Kent Road, all around that area, Bermondsey produced a lot of great fighters because it was a rough, tough area.
Yeah. And with the state of unemployment and young people being unemployed as it is today, are there as many young lads going to boxing, do you think?
Well, boxing's had a little boost since, we've got now, 2.5 million unemployed now. Certainly there's been a boost. Quite a few now coloured fighters have coming into the game. A lot. The class, perhaps, and the standard is not quite as good as it was a few years ago for some reason. But the boxing has had a little boost because our times produce surf boxers or fighters, whatever you want to call it.
I mean, I've said before that you were a very mild-mannered man, and meeting you this afternoon, you certainly are. But when you were in the ring, did you feel some sort of degree of anger? I mean, what did you feel? Was it a total hatred, or did you have an objective view to your opponent?
That was just, it was a cold calculus. I mean, boxing basically is all about self-control. It's self-control in your way of life, in living, in your training. And professional boxing was my business. I mean, if I could have gone in and knocked everyone out in the first round, that would have been the greatest thing I could have done, because I didn't want to be in there too long. No, it was a cold clinical thing. I went in there perhaps and I thought this way, if I could go in there and knock the guy in the first round, I'd save him a lot of punishment, and myself perhaps.
I'm sure, yes. Well, you've got two sons, one who's 20? Is that
yes,
right?
he's 20.
And the other one is 13, who's come with you this afternoon. Are they going to go into boxing?
I don't think so, no, because as I've said previous, middle class and better class families, you don't get boxers, they don't produce boxers. So the boys have had it a bit too easy, to be honest. I mean, they've both been educated, one of them's been, and the other one is taking place now in private schools. We all try to give them a little bit more than what we ever had, and no, they've had it too easy. What do they want to fight for?
Now, do they have it very easy at home? I mean, are you a tough disciplinarian as a dad? Do you cuff them about the ear?
Well, I don't cuff them around the ear. I don't cuff them around the ear at all. I give them the backhander up the old backside now and again. If they annoy me too much, they cop one, so they know how far to push me. But no, Mum's the easier touch. Albina, you know, she's an easier touch. So if they want anything, they usually get round Mum first, and then Mum usually comes round to me and says, well, you know, da. But I try to be hard, but they usually wear me down. You know.
As a sporting personality, you must have been very aware while you were boxing that you were setting examples, that your behaviour was being seen by younger people coming up in the profession. How did this affect your life?
Yeah, well, it's a thing you're always conscious of because, you know, I mean, you know, to be honest, you know that kids are making you an example. So, you know, I didn't want to go into pubs and booze and come out drunk. Though it wasn't any hardship because I wasn't a boozer or anything like that, you know. So I didn't have that problem. And it's nice when the public respect you and the kids will go up. So you're aware of that and you try to, you know, put the right image in front of them, basically.
How do you feel about those who don't set good examples in the sporting world?
Well, in a lot of respects, they're very short-sighted because basically it's the public that pay your wages. I mean, as I said, I've been retired, 11 years now. I can go anywhere in the country, which I do doing store visits for different companies I've got tie-ups for. People still want to come up, shake hand, want autograph. Hey, great, lovely. And that's great because basically, I suppose, you've used your head when you was boxing and you spent a little time just to say hello to them. I mean, I've seen footballers say to a kid, you know, bugger off, you know, when he wanted an autograph. I mean, that's such a short-sighted policy. It's unbelievable because it's the public, I'd say, that pay your wages.
That's right. And after 11 years after retiring, you're still a household name.
Just like Domestos, that's me.
Gets rid of unknown germs. How do you account for that?
Well, it's just a funny thing. You know, you can never put your finger on it, really. No, to be honest, I think I was always honest with the public. I suppose I was one of the first ones, and I did have one or two bad fights in my career where, as I say, stunk the joint out. And I used to apologise next day. I'm sorry, I stunk the joint, but it'd be better next time. And I think, basically, if you're yourself and you're honest with the public, they'll take to you. And thank God they took to me, as I say. Cause,
Henry, we shall go on taking to you for a lot more years. Thank you very much for coming.
My pleasure, thank you.
Henry Cooper's knockout, you know. Well, that's about it from us, except to say that when they said I was getting kid gloves in this programme, I didn't think they meant these. Henry would tell you to hit this, you need brute force. We'll be back with the punches next week.
Next on Thames, David Jansen stars in our bestseller presentation, The Word.
What are you doing in mid-air, Fox?
I am standing on a Fox's Glacier mint.
Oh, really? And is it clear?
Crystal clear.
And is it refreshingly minty, Fox?
Yes. No.
Fox's Glacier mints. Clearly minty.
And here's Mandy's room.
Oh, it's lovely.
Your Peter doesn't seem to think so.
He's wet again.
I'm not surprised using ordinary nappies. You should try Pampers.
Pampers? Are they special?
They keep Mandy much drier than ordinary nappies. You feel.
Ooh, really dry. Why's that?
Well, Pampers are the new all-in-one with this special stay-dry lining that's made to keep a baby's skin drier.
Look, even when both nappies are made equally wet, Pampers' special stay-dry lining stays drier. This blotting paper will show you just how dry. After a few moments, the ordinary nappy has made the blotting paper soaking wet. But see how much drier Pampers has kept it. That's how well Pampers protects your baby's skin.
There, that's better. You feel happier now, don't you?
Thanks to Pampers.
You really can feel the difference.
New Pampers for drier, happier babies.
Oh, why is it she always gets under my feet whenever I want a nap? Oh, that's it then.
Time for your 9 lives, Maurice.
That's more like it. 9 lives is all a chap really wants. Well, we're only human, aren't we?
Right, what's it to be today? Pilchards or...
Meaty menu.
Meaty menu. There.
9 lives has everything a chap needs. With so much choice, even I can't get bored.
Well, when you've been on your feet all day, there's nothing more relaxing than settling down with the paper.
9 lives, because cats are only human.
Mrs. McGrath, do you ever get a headache?
Yes, I do.
And do you take a pain reliever?
Yes.
Is it perhaps this, the #3 bestseller?
No.
Or this, #2?
No.
Or this, the #1 bestseller?
Ah, Anadin. Yes, that's the one I take.
Can you tell me why?
Anadin works for me. I like it. It's an old friend.
Try Anadin for headache. Tense, nervous headache. Anadin is #1 bestseller.
Coke and a smile turns on the sun, makes me feel good. So refreshing, makes me feel nice. Have a Coke and a smile. That's the way it should be. And I like to see the whole world smiling with me. Coca-Cola has life. Have a Coke and a smile.
When you're working hard and feel a bit peckish, stick out your hand for a Cadbury's double-decker. Under that thick Cadbury milk chocolate, there's a unique double filling. A crispy, crunchy downstairs mingling with a chewy, rather satisfying top deck. So when you're peckish, catch a Cadbury's double-decker, the double-filling bar for the double-filling feeling.
Looking for a job? Here's JobTel, a brand new way to help you find a job. Find out more. Call JobTel on 01 205 0205. That's 205 0205.
The July issues of TV Times all offer something special.
They're 20p.
Yes, I know that.
Summer season ITV program details.
Yes, your summer ITV program details.
Feature.
Yes, all those fascinating features about your favourite stars and programmes, but...
What?
There's a whole lot more for your 20p. Summer saver offers. This week and every week in July, you could save more than £5 on your summer shopping.
This week's TV Times gives you what's on next and a whole lot more.
Hey, that's my line.
Don't forget Daffy Duck will be here with Cartoon Time at 4:15, but first it's time for today's bestseller.